Welcome back, everyone. Today we are going to do a full sort of design from taking a venue and then putting the speakers in, and then we are going to then design the rack. We're going to do this through JBL's products and Harmon products with JBL's venue synthesis to start with the venue, then the actual putting in the speakers in, doing all the sort of calculations that way, and then moving on to Audio Architect, and then actually putting together the rack and the sort of equipment we're going to need to be able to run this venue. So this is a previous project I've shown, and I thought I'd use this as I've already 3D modeled it. And it's got different places, and it comes with its own complications and restrictions. So I think it's a really good sort of project to use. So for this venue, what I've done is I've imported the SketchUp file that I already created. Quite easy to do, which I'll do an overview of this at some point. So the first thing I kind of did is I imported the file. It came up with mostly a Y. The only thing it didn't have in was the floor. So I've had to add in a rectangle for the floor. And then I've changed the two side planes over to audience from architectural, so then it can actually do the full mapping. What I also do while I'm here is I will add some other floor planes. So let's draw these out for the under balcony areas. We're also going to need planes. Gets a little fiddly in places, but that's all right. Go, and then I'll also add one at the back to here. Okay. And then something I do also need to do is I need to change these all over to audience planes. So then when you do the actual virtual mapping, it shows the calculations. What I'm also going to add is I'll add a hallway as well. As this is an open doorway, I do like to be able to see with this place how much spill I'm getting into that hallway. Okay, something I'm also going to do while I'm here. Rectangle. I'm going to put in didn't put it in the right place. That's all right. And tangle that wall. Roughly about that. Yeah, that would do. And that is basically just so I can actually calculate this room individually, as there is actually a door there. And then that's also a separate room, but I am not entirely fussed about that room. That is pretty much where the rack will go. Okay. Now I've done that, got all our listening planes. Go to the acoustics panel. I've had a look to see what speakers they've actually got within venue synthesis. So you've got the A series, B series, V, and F, and then of course you've got the VRX and the SRX. We're going to focus on the AE compacts because they're the little point sources. So now it is deciding what size speakers I want to go for. Having a look at the website on my other screen, they do basically from a small 5-inch all the way up to a dual 8-inch speaker. So probably for the main speakers, you probably want to go a bit larger. The AC28 might be an idea. Dual 8-inch woofers with a tweeter as well. Speakers 2. So let's go for the, what's the difference, 2020? So the AC2826s have a 120 degree horizontal, 120 horizontal by 60 degree vertical dispersion. And then the 95s have a 90 by 60. The 26 is... as I'm pretty much going to be probably splitting this up, let's switch over to the 95s. They're also way too high in this venue. Layout. Drop them down. All right, so let's get these into position. So I'm going to want to widen them. Forward. I want... No, that's shifting it. I want spacing then. So that's 6 meters. Then I probably actually want to bring them forward. Oh, that's... spacing them properly. .2. And then I'm going to want to tow them in. Okay, where's that aiming? It's crossing to the back. That's not bad. And you can also change the amplifier. So these are actually recommend the iTechs. Direct SPL. 96. 93. Okay. Now I should actually be able to duplicate. And then actually bring them further down. And then I've also got to cover the sides, the other side, in these sort of little nooks. I'm not going to use the same speakers for them. I'm probably going to use something smaller. I'll even go a 5-inch or a 6-inch speaker. I think I'll go a little 5-inch. So I'm going to speed this up and then we'll come back in a bit. So the reason I am not covering here is because this is a child play area. So there's actually no pews or seating or anything like that here, just general play area. And you kind of want to keep the noise off of them so they can kind of talk to each other quietly. But then the rest of the area down here actually has pews, and there's actually a font over here. So I'm also going to duplicate this one again. Then go 11, because I actually want to cover this area more. Just so then that font area is actually covered. Also going to update the main set of speakers and actually aim them down. And then that gives a nice distributed system across the bottom. And then it's pretty much looking at potentially covering the balconies. The space up here, why there's no balcony here, is that's where the organ is. Then it's basically sticking up speakers as before below and then distributing them. So the height of these pillars currently is where the arch starts to happen. There's arches in between each pillar on the sides. What I am doing here is literally just checking the 2D profile and seeing the SPL over distance just to make sure that it's fairly even. All the speakers in and a nice distributed coverage. Probably move those sort of set side speakers in a bit. So on average, we're probably looking about 100 dB. The second part of this is then taking what we've just done and then creating the actual control system for it. So there's basically two ways you can kind of do this. If you want to do the lazy way, you can just keep it as room 1, or like I showed you in the kind of overview, you can actually create your rooms and then have it distributed with all the different speakers and whatever tech. I think what I'm going to do is everything's going to be centralized into one room. Talking about amplifiers, biggest thing we need to kind of think about is the biggest thing about the whole project is budget. It's the big thing, and it's always going to be the main restrictions on everything. It's great just putting the latest stuff in, and that's great, but that's going to cost an arm and a leg, and it's not practical. People have got budgetary constraints. Like the iTech HD series, you're looking probably 10 grand an amplifier. And then if I go down to the DCI with having full Dante install, like the 4-channel 1250 DA is still 5 grand or just under 5 grand an amplifier. 4-channel analog version, you're looking just under 4 grand, so you actually save 1,000 just on it being non-Dante. And then it comes down to what are you willing to compromise on? I think for this, with the previous setup I did for this design, I designed it with all Dante in mind, just for general future-proofing. Yeah, analog's great, and you could do analog on the amplifiers simply just to then only ever have Dante on the control side, pre-amplifier side. So then all the amplifiers are like in their own set and they cannot be changed without actually using the control network. And then you don't have to worry about anyone messing around with them. However, I think for this, I am going to design it with Dante in mind on everything. So then things can be changed in the future. Things can be rerouted and updated as of when. So then it doesn't need to, the client doesn't need to worry about, oh, we want to change this, we want to do this, we want to section this off, move speakers. We can move audio around, select the channels you want to go where, and just make it a lot sort of simplified. Okay, for the most part, it's more than likely I'll probably end up using the DCI just because they've got the Dante versions. Then they've also got BlueLink, which is their own protocol to move audio around their system. Then it's basically deciding, okay, how am I linking the speakers together? Because that will determine how many amplifier channels I am going to need. So we've got left and right down the bottom in 3 sets. We've then got the outer kind of fills. We've got the prayer room, that's its own zone. And then we've got the balconies as well. So I think the way I'm going to do this is that the main sets will build on their own set of channels. So that would be 6 channels. The prayer room will be on its own channel. This section will be on its own channel. And then for the other side, I think for the last 3 sort of sets, so this distributed area, so the bottom and the 2 balconies, I think because these small little 5-inch speakers are 16 ohms, I will put them all together, daisy chained, so then they are 5.33 ohms, if I remember correctly, which will then mean less amplifiers total, which is total saving cost. So then it's looking at the power. The AC15s, which are the tiny little 5 inches, they're 16 ohms, continuous 150 watts, programmed 300 watts with a peak of 600, and then their AES is 225 watts. Then the AC28s are 8 ohms with 375 watt continuous, 750 program, and 1500 watt peak with an AES of 700. After doing a bit of research, originally I was going to go a full Dante system, including the amplifiers. However, with the cost savings, going with the CDI drive core range is a lot better. Both 4 channels, both 1200 watts. However, the CDI is just under $3,000 and the DCI is just under $5,000. So you save about $3,000. So that will then do all 3 of our balcony, our 2 balcony and our side speakers with the 3 sets of 3. Then it comes down to what do we use for the others. If I use the same amplifier, that's quite a bit of density, which is really nice. The density is beautiful. So then let's go back to our plot. So then with the second amplifier, I can then stick a singular unit on that spare 4th channel. And then on the first channel of the other one, I can actually stick the other 16 ohm little 5-inch speaker. So then the only things we've got left is we've got 3 channels left of that amplifier for 1200 watts. And we still need 6 channels total. plus 2 subs. So all in all, we might be sticking in maybe 2 more amplifiers of the same. So as a reminder, these are 750 watt program, and it'll be basically using singular channel rather than adding them together, so then we can actually delay them properly down the room. So then we've got first amplifier is 3 sets of the small ones of the 5-inch, plus the very end one's probably going to be like the prayer room. Then the first channel would be the cafe, and then we've got one side for the main speakers, the 8-inch, and then on the other side we've got 3 more, leaving us with 1 spare channel. So then we could, if we wanted to add subwoofers, so depending, and this is where it comes down to depending on the subwoofer. So let's have a quick look at subs. Let's find one, just a random one. AL7115. So if we took this as an example, so this is saying it has a 600 watt continuous with a 2400 watt peak. Okay. And then AES 1000 watt standard or continuous, sorry, with a 4000 watt peak. So then we're basically going to want an amplifier that can run 2 of them, left and right. Probably still be a mono send, but it means within our setup we can then actually stick them below our first sets. So then we want 1 more amplifier. Potentially, if it's 2400 watts peak, probably won't use 2400 watts. Can either go for another 4 channel, which would then potentially give us up to 2 channels spare for future expansion, or to save on that extra bit of cost, you could then go down to the 2 channel version. What I'll do, just to keep things kind of nice and easy, I'll stick another one of the 4 channel in, giving us either 2 bridged modes potentially, or being able to add potentially more subs on, or spare speakers, or fold backs. So then we get a little bit of flexibility if they wanted to have future expansion. Then when it comes to the actual control, it's going to have to be the 806DA. I am just going to double check. What card would we use? Because if they're all going to be Blue Link, what's also on the back? It's got Blue Link or analog input. So if we stick with the analog input, we've then now got within our rack, we've got the 806DA, which will do all our Dante inputs and outputs. So then this is our total rack for the whole venue, which density-wise is fantastic, because in a lot of other venues, you end up with probably double the amount of amplifiers trying to do the same amount of speakers. So it's really, really thinking about that compromise between cost, density, how many channels you need, how you want to set them up, especially linking them, whether you want to just daisy chain them, depending on your setup. Some situations like restaurants and stuff, you are going to basically just be daisy chaining smaller speakers to create zones. Or for larger systems, especially if you want that left and right, like I've done here. For the main area, I've done left and right. And then for the infill areas that are not as important, they are just literally daisy chained. So from here, it's basically working out your routing of audio. So if I go onto the actual the 806DA, I then want to think about what's coming in and what's going out. So if I ignore the actual processing in it for now, I'm going to want to think about where is my audio going. So as we've already defined our amplifiers, I want to basically define what is going out. So I want to grab the blue link output. I am going to want to name this amplifiers out. And then this is the kind of the menu where I will tell it what's going where. Okay, so this is the blue link card output for the amplifiers. So we need to tell it how many channels output we actually need. So we've got our left, we've got our right, and then we've got a sub output. We won't worry about we could do a delay output on its own thing. However, we're going to do the delays all through the amplifiers. Then it's all in the amplifier, keeping it contained all there. The blue link is basically linking in and out. So you basically will come out of the 806 and then you'll go in and then out, back and then into the next amplifier. So we're only going to want 3 channels. And then we can drag them over. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, now we've got our 3 channels, is we're going to want probably our Dante input. And then for this, you've got 2 options. You can select it to where it's really routed from or how it's controlled. So I'm going to change it over to Audio Architect, and that means I can define on here how many channels I need. To keep it simple, just give me 3 channels. So this is going to be just from the, let's say, the desk. And then I can change the signal name. So I want subs / mono, and then my left and my right. And then I can actually put things in between to link it, or I can literally just link it direct through. Let's go link it direct through for now. So realistically, instead of the 806DA, I could actually change it over to the 326 and then literally just use it as a conversion. And then back on the rack, I can then actually select the input on each device. There we go. So for this, I want to select it to blue link. And then you can set it up physically with the actual analog inputs and outputs, as well as just within the cabling. Even if you route nothing to it, it means if for whatever reason the blue link system just decides to go on you, you can then just quickly go on and just change it to the analog inputs. Or what you can also do, just do no blue link. Wait. 4. Then you can also change the input configuration, yada yada yada. That's because I can't like that. Blue link. Okay, so then that amplifier then has all individual routings. Oh, right, yeah, I forgot to Clear. Clear. Okay. Quickly did this off screen, but I'll just show it again. Just so then I can actually get this set up properly. So, speaker tuning, this is where you're going to select what speakers are going for what output channel. How you set the amplifiers up, there's a few ways of doing it depending on where your speakers are located. So then if a channel goes down, you're less likely to notice what goes down. So what I can do, preset for JBL products, so I can go install AC for what we're using. Then from the top, I think what I'll probably end up doing, actually I might go to the AE, and then I can actually select those subs I was talking about. Channel 2, low frequency, and then this I can apply, and that will go to our 2 subs. And then this amplifier will be our sub amplifier. And then I can actually go to here. And then I can actually make sure blue link is going to number 1. And I can go subs. And that I can just actually select it, analog input, and I don't have to worry about it. And then that one is sorted. Then on the next amplifier, we can then go through and we can actually set it for our main system, and then the amplifiers below that we can then actually set it for our kind of other fills, or for the outer fills for the sides and the balconies. Back over to the 860A, and I actually want to add that one. I want to add another channel, add one channel, which will then go to here. Okay. I believe it's that one. Yes, it is. So then you can grab a summer, stick it on there. Name and AC 15 mono send. And then you can basically take your left and then your right. I'm going to do this slightly neater. And I can actually get rid of that. And I can actually go along that to that. And I can actually link it off. Then that is my mono send to the extra channel. So I can go back to the rack room, back to the amplifier I was on, to my inputs. And then I can actually go blue link 4, which would be that mono send. And I've just got to relabel it. So then that will all be to our subs with 2 spare channels for either monitoring or something else. Set 1, set 2, set 3, prayer room, cafe, and then our 3 sets of 3. We can go ahead and actually select our delay, but it'd be best to do that actually on site once the install's kind of done, and then you can use Smart, grab the delay times from that, or calculate the distance and then do it manually that way if you want to do it quick and easy. So then that is basically our preliminary kind of system designed. So then we've done all our speakers within the venue performance. What is it? The venue synthesis. And then within Audio Architect, we've actually designed our rack with our matrix and our amplifiers with all those inputs. And then once you install it, you can then actually associate the amplifiers. You can route your audio, which you shouldn't need to do it. That's actually thinking about it because I've already. Yeah, so there you go. It shows it for you. So sub/mono, left, right. Why is that not showing left? Why is that showing right? So this is a good thing to check, and it's probably, yeah, so this is 1, so none, then none. Okay, good. Save that. Not sure why it's blue linked right. So now we've got name, transmitting device, which is the blue link, going through the amplifiers out blue link card. It's not card, but pretty much is. And then it tells you what amplifiers it's going to, the network port, and what channel it's going to. So I've selected each one, 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's our 4 channels with our mono sends. So now we've checked, we've gone through it, and we've checked where it's actually going. And then once you actually install it on site, you can then put it online, and then you can actually go in, and then you can actually select and mute and unmute which audio channel, just to make sure that you've got audio going to the correct place. As you can see, we've only used 4% of our total output. And then if we wanted to put more speakers in, so let's say they wanted 2 monitors, just floor wedges, we could then stick that in as well. And we could then add another channel, add 1 more channel. I can then pull that over to number 5. Okay. I can then add another Dante input here, or if I wanted to, I could then grab another Dante input card and call this one monitors. And then this can be as many monitors as you want. We've got 2 spare, well, we've technically got 3 spare channels, but I will do 2. Channel 1, so monitor send 1, monitor send 2. Okay. And then that's actually now being controlled by Dante controller. And actually, I probably want to have it to have another channel onto 6. And then that would actually give you 2 separate monitor sends. So then within that, I can actually go limiter. I want to grab that. Get rid of them quickly. 1 limiter, copy, paste it. I've got 2 limiters. Now I've got 2 limiters in between my actual monitor input and my monitor output. And then this can't be fiddled with by anyone, because the amplifiers, of course the CDIs actually have a panel on them. so which then can be changed, whereas this can be your hard wall limiter, so then it can never go above that and it can never damage the speakers. And as it's called now, we've got 7% and 5% we've used. And then there's many other filters, crossovers, delays we can put in. So if you wanted to put extra delay on or whatever, FIR filters, EQ, got matrix mixers, then you can do all your metering and you can wire tag. So there's that. So then that's a basic system, all basically set up, ready and designed, which you can then show the client. I think that pretty much covers this overview and this full sort of design, from taking a venue, designing it, putting speakers in it, and then putting together a rack. Of course, there is a lot more things you can do within this, especially with sort of access control and bits and pieces like I showed in the overview. Thank you all for watching. Any sort of comments or any sort of anything you want to kind of chat about, chat it in the comments. Got any questions, stick them in the comments. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.